Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Branding Bootcamp number 2. Sorry for the music in the background. There seems to be a little bit of troubleshooting on our side in terms of people spamming events today. So with the wrong links taking you to who knows where. So if you are listening to this, you then in the right link. If you're not listening to this, excuse, you're in the wrong link and you might just be hacked. Please don't click on any of the links in the events that are just popping up by wonderful names. That's not either myself, Claire, or Paul. Welcome everybody to Branding Bootcamp number 2. We're very excited. We have 5 fantastic speakers. Okay, I know I'm fantastic, but you know, the rest is awesomely fantastic. We have Justine from Nandos. So our webinar today, let me just give you an idea of the panelists. So our agenda today is, first up is Justine from Nandos. Then we have Samantha, who will be talking from InnoV8 around how recruitment has changed and how we need to position ourselves as a brand. Then I'll be speaking to kind of bring everything together. Then we have Glenn, who is kind of Canada, UK, Ireland. I think right now he's sitting in Italy. And then we also have Laval, who is from Chicago, who will be joining us a little bit later. Just a heads up, Justine, so please put all your questions in the chat box because Justine will only be able to join us for the first part. She won't be part of the panel discussions at the end, but there is a lot of questions she already is going to be answering and left some time for towards the end to kind of go through some additional questions. So the Q&A at the end is going to be for all the speakers. And if you've got specific questions addressed to each speaker, we're going to try and get through them all during that Q&A session. So welcome, everybody. Want to welcome Justine. So I'm going to stop sharing here so Justine can come on. Hey, Justine.
Hello.
Welcome and thank you for taking the time to join us. You know, I think Justine, you know, I kind of did some stalking yesterday. So despite the fact that she is currently at Nandos, she was a 5 FM presenter, yoga instructor, there was swimwear model somewhere. So, you know, I think from a broad perspective, you know, Justine loves, Justine even has a blog, so you can even go to her website to find out more about her specifically. But I think, Justine, the floor is yours to take and blow us away with the awesomeness of Nandos and the creativity.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I am sitting in our offices, which have recently been reopened. So if you're looking at my crazy background, this is part of our private art collection. Nandos is the biggest private art collection in the world, actually. So all the pieces of art that you see in every single Nandos, in all of our offices, in every Nandos around the world, is actually part of a private collection of Southern African artists that were supported and uplifted by us purchasing their art as key pieces. So that is as much of an export to South Africa as Nandos the brand is.
Oh,
so
wow, that's so
part of our heritage.
Love that. That's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. Okay, so you know, when we decided to do this presentation, I had said to Nodine, you know, what do people want to know, and how can I, as the GM of brand and strategy for Nandos, help other people in a multitude of different businesses with different types of challenges that you're facing in the next year in terms of your brand and business strategy. So I decided to share with you some of the, I guess, the most asked and answered questions that we get at Nandos. So I'm going to take you through those, and I think that might eliminate your Q&A need at the end of this process. But these are kind of the most commonly asked questions I get as a person, as an undocker person that works inside Nandos. So I'm hoping that will provoke a little bit of support and debate in terms of what can help you in your next year's business plan. So this is kind of brought together by this very cool meme that circulates quite often on the internet. So this talk today is brought to you by these people who say, I act like I'm okay, but deep down, I really want to be part of the Nandos marketing team. So I have that honor and privilege. I am part of the Nandos marketing team. So here's a little bit of an inside approach as to what that's like and what we do with our time, right, to drive the Nandos brand. So the first thing is, the first question, I guess, is most people say to me, what do people misunderstand the most about what it's like to work in marketing at Nandos? And that is that most people think that I make ads, which I do, but that's actually a very small portion of my time. So most of the time I'm on one of these three apps, like most business people would be. I spend a lot of time on Excel trying to calculate things and figure out and forecast things. I then spend a lot of time on Teams because I work very cross-functionally with different parts of our business. It's absolutely critical to know and understand what other people are doing, from your supply chain to your operations team to every single Nandocker that works inside a restaurant. And then I spend a lot of time on PowerPoint trying to communicate our plans and ideas. I think that's a very key learning, is that you can put things in a beautiful PowerPoint and you can tell everyone what you think they should do. But if you're not really communicating your vision and what it is that you're trying to get the business to do, you absolutely will just live on PowerPoint, and there won't be a way forward for you in terms of trying to get your plans to actually come to life. Nobody, no matter what level of decision making you are at or how powerful you might be in the business, can do anything alone. So being able to tell a strong story and give enough context as to why you're trying to do something is a critical aspect of what I spend most of my time doing. Advertising is not marketing. So most of our questions that we get about marketing is actually about advertising. Advertising is one part of marketing. And at Nandos, marketing is a far bigger kind of realm of responsibility and accountability in our business than just the advertising portion. Of course, that's what most of our consumers see. They don't see me in Excel trying to change 276 price points. They see ads on TV. So that would make sense. Another question I get often is, what makes Nandos worth the price? So I'm sure that most people who are trying to price their products and services for the upcoming year are looking at some hefty inflation numbers, some hefty cost of goods sold as the price of raw material has gone up, as supply chains struggle to get stock of things that potentially you import, or raw and unfinished material, which we import a lot of in South Africa. And we also have that, right? So we definitely don't have cheap chicken. And the reason for that is because we have very high quality specific standards on what kind of chicken we will serve. All of our chicken is locally sourced, and we have quite specific requirements in terms of the food that we will compile and sell in our restaurants. So as we say at Nandos, nice things cost, ne? And that is actually why our food is not super cheap. It's not an area that we really want to focus on. We want to make our food affordable, but we're not interested in giving away cheap food that's bad for people. So that's probably what I would say is what makes Nandos worth the price. You know, you're getting good quality food made from really good ingredients. 90-something% of them are locally sourced. There's one or two small things. Definitely all your chicken is locally sourced. And that's probably what you're actually doing when you buy a Nandos meal. You're making a quality decision that's better for you than most of our competitors. And that costs us a little bit more. Is Nandos bigger in South Africa than anywhere else? And the answer is no. We actually have more Nandos restaurants in the United Kingdom than we do in South Africa. And we're in a number of other countries. The restaurants that you're looking at here are actually in Zimbabwe and Botswana. So we have Nandos in numerous countries, the USA, the Philippines, Singapore, Australia, and throughout the UK, we have almost double the number of restaurants as we have in South Africa. So I would say Nandos is a significant export for South Africa. And in the UK, it is actually the biggest independent restaurant chain in Britain, basically. So it's quite big in other places too, even though it's homegrown, born and bred in South Africa. How do you get your social memes out so far? So this is very common, right? This meme that we released in June this year broke the internet for a day or two. We had lots of very upset people and lots of very excited people about this, which is what tends to happen when we make social memes. How we do this is we have a very empowered agency partner who have community managers that are very much Nandos dedicated. And we have a small social tactical war room that we use via WhatsApp, where 6 or 7 of us are involved, and we make decisions rapidly via technology so that we can get this material up and out. So we don't have a very hierarchical chain of approval. We have quite a flat structure at Nandos. I guess we have sort of 3 layers. We have our ExCo, we have the OpsCo level, which is the ExCo +1, and then we have everyone else that runs our business. So it's not very difficult to talk to the top, and it's not very difficult for a very junior person in our business to have a conversation with someone on the ExCo. And that makes it very easy for us to get social material up and out really quickly. So why does a chicken brand make adverts about socioeconomic and political issues? So this is a very cool question, and I love answering this because this gets asked every single time we get into trouble with things that we say online. And the main spirit at Nandos is about elevating the voice of people, of South Africans particularly. So we tend to get entangled in socioeconomic and political issues because that's what people are entangled in. So South Africans are living their lives every single day in these issues, dealing with these problems and talking about them. And we like to participate in what people are interested in and what they are talking about. So instead of trying to send a message and tell our consumers something about ourselves, we want to be part of what they are talking about between each other. We're conversationalists and engagers, not brands on a pedestal trying to tell you what to do with your life and draw your attention to us and talk about ourselves. So that ends up being quite socioeconomic and political because those are the issues that most people are dealing with on a daily basis. It doesn't always have to be like that. We've been involved in celebrity entanglements. We've been involved in sports. We've been involved in all sorts of different issues. At the moment, we're talking about vaccinations. These are all things that are relevant to the people. And we just like to use our platform to amplify that. So it doesn't start with, let's make an ad about politics. It starts with, what do people care about? What do they need help saying? What can we say on their behalf? What issues can we elevate to try and make people realize and remind them that we are with them and of them. We grew up alongside them. We didn't import a brand, build a restaurant and go, please buy our chicken. We would like you to buy our chicken, but that's not the only thing we do. How are you so creative with your advertising? This is all about being brave and trusting. So when an agency comes to you and says, we want to make an ad about the 10 beasts at 10, which was the biggest news story of the year, how do we do that? What happens in the boardroom that we are in? And what happens is that we laugh and think that's a great idea because that's what people have talked about this year. That's something that was very much a part of our news space for quite a few weeks and months. So it would make sense if we did something with that and if people felt that they could relate to the content that we're making, because we're making content that's about their lives and their lived reality. So we are brave in our advertising. We are courageous, and maybe our size enables that to be the case. We don't really report to a global office in the way a lot of other brands do, where you've got Americans or British people potentially who are not understanding your local landscape. We make all of our decisions here locally in South Africa. So it's easy for us to understand the context very, very quickly and to trust that the creative ideas that are coming to us are going to support our business in the way that we need them to. How do you come up with new meals? So that's quite a fun part of our business. So all marketers would know that you control the 4 P's in marketing. And one of those P's is product. And in our business, our food, our meals are our products. So we have quite a robust new product development pipeline. I work very closely with the head of food at Nandos. I call her the Hoff, head of food. And she is a trained chef who develops food aligned to the Nandos Afro-Luso influence and brand. And we work with that and what customers and consumers are needing. So if consumers say that they need really anything above 50 Rand is a lot of money for me to spend on a meal right now, I need to know that we need to create a meal that is authentic, home of chicken, peri-peri, home of peri-peri, Nando's meal under 50 Rand, and that's differentiated from what other brands can do. And this year's big innovation that we launched was the chicken Prego. So that's what you're looking at right now. The chicken Prego is a key new product for us, and it kind of is one of those products where we went all along, we should have been doing this, the delicious air-baked Portuguese roll with our very famous chicken fillet, and these caramelized onions, all basted in delicious peri-peri, your flavor of choice, whether you're an extra hot or a lemon and mild person, and served with our chips, peri-sprinkled chips. And so that's how we come up with new meals. And in the restaurant business, unlike FMCG, you can trial and launch fairly quickly. So we can trial something and 8 months later, we can have it up and out live within all of 275 restaurants in South Africa. So that makes a huge difference in terms of getting innovation to market as quickly as you can. What does Nandos do to empower others? So I think we sometimes get criticized by a lot of our consumers for not overtly doing as much as they think we should do. And this is mostly because we're quite shy about talking about ourselves. So all of the pink blocks that you can see here are just a handful of things that we do on a regular basis as a business that we're not very good at telling people about. And that's mostly because, again, we don't like to draw attention to ourselves and say, look how great we are. We do all these amazing things. We believe that these things are part of good business. So we don't have a CSI department. Everyone does these things. These are core marketing programs or core business and operational programs that we do ongoing. So for example, the Hot Young Designers program that we run is run by our property team. So by day, our property team is negotiating rentals to help our casas, our different restaurants, get the best deal. They're trying to build new format restaurants, launch new restaurants in new places, design restaurants to look a certain way. And the Hot Young Designers program is run by the property team, who then support a pipeline of young designers by elevating their designs and actually purchasing the designs of the furniture, the decor, the fabrics, the crockery, everything that you see inside our casa comes from a Hot Young Designer program, and the number of designers that we support to grow into real working designers who can actually earn a living as designers. And that's a program that we run every year. So for example, we're very well known in the design community for that. We do quite a lot of work with music from a Bridges Academy for Music perspective. So we sponsor bursaries for people to learn business and entrepreneurial skills within the music industry so that they can work and live within the music industry. A lot of that music is then put onto our Heatwave radio platform, which is the radio, the sound of Nandos, what you hear when you're inside a restaurant. Our Hot Ideas, that's actually an internal campaign. So this is a very business, like it's almost like a Shark Tank in a way. So anyone in our business, whether you are racking chickens and cleaning the kitchen, or whether you are a waitress, or you are a part of our people team, or whoever you are, you can come up with an idea that you think will fundamentally change the business. You are then partnered with someone in the strategic team to help you write your business plan and to give you some coaching on how to pitch your idea, and you then pitch your idea to a panel of our exco. And if your idea wins, you get a huge cash prize, and we basically implement your idea in our business. So it's a really amazing way to get innovation and new things to come to life and rise to the top. We also do quite a lot of work with Constitution Hill. We support the Flame of Democracy. It uses the same gas as the gas that we use in our grills in our restaurants. We pay people well. That's another reason that our chicken's a bit more expensive. We pay people properly. We have a relationship with the Spear Art Trust, as I was talking about at the beginning of my presentation. All the art that you see in every single Nandos across the world is owned by Nandos as part of the art collection that we pay and purchase at market rates. Our Perry farms, we grow bird's eye chili in 4 different Southern African countries, and we commit upfront to those farmers what we're going to purchase at above market rates, so we pay properly for that. We support a number of independent farming co-ops, some of whom are female-only co-ops, so that we can we can purchase food locally from lots of smaller suppliers, as opposed to going to one big supplier, which makes your supply chain process much easier, as opposed to going, well, these guys have only got this number of farms and these people only produce this type of food. So we go to huge amounts of length and effort to support local agriculture from different co-ops. We also employ a lot of our Nandakas via the Harambee Youth Employment Agency. So that bridges the gap between your education and your employability. So our whole call center, most of our Nandaka staff at restaurant level are all employed via that NGO process. And then we have a number of other things that we do. Now, I'm sure everyone on this call, even though I can't see your faces, everyone is going, oh, I had no idea that Nandos did those things. And it's because we don't really talk about them. We just think that it's good business. We don't do this for PR. We do this because it's the right thing to do. And actually it has a business benefit in the end. It makes a huge difference to me that I've got high quality, locally sourced food that I don't have to wait and pay import duty on 28 weeks later when the ship finally gets here. It makes our business much better to have ideas that our own people have come up with and that I can reward them with, that we can actually implement, that makes a fundamental difference to our operations and how we run our business. So these are just some of the things that we do as a business to empower other people, and it actually helps us too. So it's the perfect type of empowerment. So at the end of all of that, when people ask me what advice do I have for other businesses, and I'm sure Nolene will ask all of your speakers today what their advice is for businesses. These are my rules to work by. This is what I do. It works for me. So the first thing to look at when you're building your plans for next year is to solve the customer problem, not the business problem. And it's very easy to do when you just write it down that way, but in actual fact, I think you'll find that most of what you're doing is about trying to solve a business problem, trying to make more money, trying to make things more profitable, trying to get your restaurant built, your shop built, whatever it is. Those are all business problems and they don't affect the customer. And if you take a look from the customer's perspective and you go, what are the customer's issues actually and how can I meet them where they're at? You'll find that your plan writes itself a lot more fluidly than if you were to try and fix a business problem. Everyone wants to make more money. This is obvious. Every business, no matter how big, is trying to do that. That's a business problem. It's not really going to help the customer. Number 2 is progress over perfection. I don't think anything we've done is perfect at Nandos. We have a really good hit rate. We're accoladed and awarded, and I still think that a lot of our stuff is not perfect in any way. But there isn't a lot of time for perfection, and in most cases it's not really attainable. There's always stuff that goes slightly wrong or differently from how you intended and planned, or you need more money, or you're late, or whatever it might be. You need to celebrate progress over perfection. getting things up and out and happening in the real world means a lot more than you sitting in your office making your PowerPoint and thinking you're changing things when actually the customer doesn't see or hear that. And they're making a decision without you in an invisible vacuum because you're not there every single moment of every single day at the shelf or on their computers. Number 3 is sit your picture of success up front and then learn from anything else you discover along the way. So know what it is you're trying to achieve, be able to quantify your success picture and what will be the picture of success. If I do well here, what do I want to see? And then all the other stuff that comes along the way, you learn from and you implement later. So if your campaign idea was to reach more people, then that is the measure of success. But if you also realize that you actual frequency of your consumers, then that's something you learned along the way. It's a nice to have. It's not the picture of success. It's just a benefit. 4th rule to work by is know where you've come from and don't fear where you're going. So there is a lot to be said for history, and everyone needs to know and understand their business's history and the context in which they're marketing. And that's really, really critical. You can't expect to stand on the shoulders of others and not know what shoulders you're standing on. It's absolutely essential. There's no amount of information that is a waste in terms of your past, but you cannot fear where you're going. Marketing specifically is a harbinger of the future. It is our job to usher in the future and to help everyone else in our business understand what it holds for us. We cannot leave the harbinger of the future role to people in the people team, in the finance team, or in the ops team. They're trying to make the here and now work. They're trying to make everything work out so that they can meet the objectives of the business in the here and now. We are the people that tell our business where we should be going in 3, 5, and 10 years' time. So you cannot fear that. And you cannot stop away from crashing. You have to ride it. And if you're not riding it, then get a different surfboard because it's not going to stop. And then do the deep work. So I break this up internally and externally. So internally, understand how others that you need do what they do and enable them to do it better. There's nothing more frustrating when people don't understand what it is that you do and how you do it. It's really annoying. And I know that marketers specifically feel very upset about this. We don't like being the coloring in department. We don't like being the part of the business that must help if we've run out of coffee and someone must run down to the shop for marketing and get more coffee because there's no coffee. Like, these are all annoying things. And it's just as annoying for other people in the business. I might not place our demand forecasts for food like my supply chain does, but I know how they do it because I have a deep and abiding respect for the amount of work that goes into that, and I want to help them as much as possible. So learning and understanding what other people do and how they do it is absolutely essential. The best example actually that I can give of this is the IT department. So I'm sure that everyone runs to IT when their laptop breaks, and when everything else is going well, you forget completely about them. And they're just these little guys in the corner surrounded by thousands of empty laptop boxes. Well, that's kind of like how it is where we work. And not understanding what it takes to set up a network in a business and chain all your computers, laptops, till points together, not understanding how that even happens is not going to win you any favors internally when you need help. And then externally, stand in the shoes of the consumer, visit, listen, and care about what they care about. And I love nothing more than being amongst my consumers. I used to do this at 5FM. I used to wear like at events and things, I used to wear a hoodie over my head so that I could be on the dance floor in the club and listen to what people were saying about the music. And I think you really have to be with your consumer and where they're at. You have to understand their lives and walk in their shoes so that you can understand what they're dealing with on an everyday basis. We live our lives inside the Nandos brand here at Nandos. We know everything. We know our menu backwards. We know our prices backwards. We know every single ad when it drops. The consumer doesn't know that. We're competing for their attention, and we can't expect that they should know that. So we have to be worthy of their time. So we need to fit into their lives in such a way that we add value. And the only way you can really understand that is by being with your consumers. when you start working at Nandos, you have to do a restaurant training, which is intense. So you have to actually stand at the grills in your safety shoes and figure out where the food goes, how it gets assembled, where it comes from, how it gets put on the grill, how it gets packaged, coordinated, sent out, how the cashiers work and the tills, how upsells work. This is a huge amount. It was incredibly stressful. I mean, my feet were never so sore in my life as they were at the end of that week. And I still look back on that week and think, thank goodness I did that. It was the most helpful training ever to see what customers actually say when they're standing at Nandos. You know, what do they actually ask for? What do they actually look at? What point of sale do they actually see? Are we actually helping them order, or are we just hoping that they're going to land on the right message and, you know, read absolutely every single piece of copy that's around them, because there's 35 pieces of point of sale around them? That's not the case. And you can only learn that by doing and by being part of that market. So those are my rules to live by. And then I said to Erlene that I would sort of preempt the Q&A a little bit before anyone asks any questions. So these are, for me personally, the questions that I get. What's it like working at Nandos? It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of privilege, and it's also quite scary sometimes because we're such a well-known brand. So you don't want to be that marketing manager that produces an ad that performs less well than people's favorite ad of all time that they know and love to be Nandos. There's a lot to be responsible and accountable for. What's my inspiration? I love having an effect on a market. I love to shake the chain and see the market move. And there's nothing more inspiring than watching your whole strategy start to actually deliver the results that you expected in the market. It's very exciting to do that. And that takes time and patience. How do you get to work for Nandos? If you want a job at Nandos, you need to have a look at our LinkedIn page and start applying for the various jobs that we post. There are opportunities. We employ over 14,000 people in South Africa. So feel free to get applying. It's how I did it, and here I am. What am I most proud of? Changes all the time. I'm proud of work on a weekly and a monthly basis that we do. I'm not really a big fan of awards. I don't really chase those. I don't think that they're important. But most recently, my biggest achievement from an award perspective was when we won Marketing Organization of the Year, and that was for 2020, the year of COVID. And it really was an incredible award to get because it meant that the business came together at a key time. And it's by far not our best sales year. I'm sure you will know that the restaurant industry suffered tremendously during 2020. And we definitely didn't make our budgets. We definitely didn't make our targets. We couldn't trade for numerous times during that year. And yet we navigated and held the line and figured out how to get our business through that process. And that accolade meant a lot more to me than any beautiful lorry of amazing ads that we've made, or any Assegai award for beautiful design or internal campaigns. That was our whole team, the whole business, led by marketing, which is a great honor and privilege. Not every business gets that opportunity. We are truly marketing led. So those are my points. Does anyone have questions?
You made everyone hungry, Justine. So I just let them know they can get it via Uber Eats.
Good idea. Or download our app.
Or download the app. There you go. There is some questions, and it's relating to the franchise and where you guys are expanding to. So I'm not sure if you've got some information about that. So there's a question there.
Yes, that's a great question, actually. So we have quite an aggressive expansion plan for the next couple of years. We don't have as many restaurants as people think in South Africa. We only have 275 odd restaurants, whereas if you look at some of our competitors, they have 700, 800, 900 restaurants across South Africa. So we need to expand. We need to get our chicken to more people. And we have a number of different ways in which we're going to do that. We also have quite a number of expansion processes happening overseas. So in America, we have 2 cities and about 40 restaurants. So there's still a lot of headroom there to grow. And I have no doubt that our Australian and Eastern friends are also going to be opening a number of new Nandos restaurants in the next few years. It's a big priority for us.
And people are asking, so how would you become a franchise and how's that managed if you're doing the expansion? Are you franchise based or how do you guys operate?
Yeah, so we have almost, in South Africa specifically, we have almost a 50-50 split. So we own about half of our restaurants and about the other half of our restaurants are owned by our franchisees. We have quite a strong and tight relationship with our franchisees. We know them all very well, and you know, whether they own 10 restaurants or one restaurant, they're part of our franchisee family. And application to become a franchisee is, I would not say the easiest process because there's a lot of information that you need to supply, but we have a dedicated team of people who have a number of ways in which to support you if you want to become a franchisee. And we're looking for a robust pipeline of franchisees. We have an expansion program to keep up with, and if we have more franchisees that can enter our business, that's great for us. We're very supportive of that.
Awesome. Time for one last question, because I think we're already over the time limit, but do you supply events and how does one go about that?
We do events. It's usually internal events that we do. We're not big activators outside in terms of consumers, but we do events. We work with a particular events company at the moment, but people can bring proposals to us at any point in time, and we often pick those up. So we actually have an email address that you can send that to. It's proposals@nandos.com, which you can send to, and we vet everything that we get.
Okay, awesome. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you got some more Excel spreadsheets to attend to. Awesome marketing and a team. I really appreciate the fact that you're bringing in that people aspect, which is, part of the next presentation. So it actually works so well, and we really appreciate your time. I think everyone is here just to see you. So
everyone with all your plans. Excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Justine. Have a great day. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks. Bye. Our next speaker is Samantha. Samantha Fenter, I've known, so I'm not going to give away anyone's ages. Samantha Fenter, if Sam wants to put on, Sam, you want to put on your camera? I've known Samantha since 2007. Yes, we worked together at an organization, split up, and we kept in contact, and she was a client, and so from a deep respect to what Samantha does, I take my hat off, because the recruitment space has not been kind to people over the last few years. I know a lot of recruiters, but Samantha has that special touch and brings in that understanding people culture and linking that back to the organization. And I think Samantha does a very good job in integrating herself into businesses to understand that. And I think she's going to talk more about that. I'm going to be sharing the presentation. So all that Sam's going to do is stand there and be awesome. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Nolene, for that introduction. Thank you, everybody. It's such a privilege to be here today and to talk to you all. And great to just listen to Justine. And quite interestingly enough, a lot of what she talks about really works and evolves into every single one of our industries. So yes, let me get started. I'm Samantha, as I was so nicely introduced by Nolene. Thank you. I own InnoV8 Consulting. We are an executive search firm, very strong generalists, so work across multiple industries and across various sectors. I was looking earlier at some of the participants that have joined. There are a lot of people that I recognize the names. So hello, everybody, and thank you. So I'm going to be speaking about recruitment. Recruitment has certainly had an interesting journey. In its simplest form, dates back to ancient Egypt and the Romans, an ancient art, believe it or not, and certainly one which has seen significant evolution through time. the recruitment industry became a very lucrative one over the years. Yet it's still seen as quite a simple function by those who use recruitment services or by the people on the outside of the industry. Let me tell you that dealing with people every day, day in, day out, might not be as simple as what some people think. And then to have to put the processes to that. Sometimes I often think, geez, I would love to sell a product because my product doesn't think. You like this product? Yes, thank you. I'll take 10. But my products think, and the people that I work with think. So when we're starting with the recruitment process, yes, the actual doing could be simple, but the navigation through everything and through people and their opinions, not so simple. Nonetheless, when we started out in recruitment, and over the years, telephones, newspapers, fax machines, emails, the internet, social media, and the ability to build deep relationships with candidates and clients are and were and still are the ingredients to being a successful and sustainable recruiter. Your credibility was your brand, same as it is now. Your credibility is your brand. Over time, technology has started to play a bigger part in the evolution of recruitment over the 20 or 30 years. With the internet and Google and search engines, LinkedIn and so forth, allowing many organizations, you can move the slide now, allowing many organizations now to manage the process internally and have an internal agency, so to speak. This really has left quite a few holes for us in terms of selection. But when we look at where we are at the moment and the digital age that we're in now, it's really eliminated what we use as one of our very key skills, and that is all the face-to-face interaction that we have with organizations and individuals. You know, the automated process has now taken over from this and has removed a lot of that, and keywords are used to do the screening and the selection, and this opens up a lot of space where we will miss out on certain individuals because that keyword did not come up. And a lot of the time we employ people with attitude and aptitude. Yes, they have the skills, but it's a lot to do with culture. It's a lot to do about, do they fit into the organization? How are they going to fit? And often I say to my clients, on paper, this person might not seem to have and tick all the boxes, but just meet them. Just meet this individual because I know that they will fit into your culture. I know that they will be the right person for this team. And this I could do and easily and comfortably do because of all that face-to-face interaction and really getting to know my clients so well, being in their offices all the time, sitting in their inductions and so forth. So yeah, it does happen now that we do miss, there's a bit hit or miss when it comes to culture because of this screening that's done electronically. But nonetheless, with the pandemic, we have been catapulted even deeper into the digital age, working remotely, online meetings. You did not see anyone other than your own inner circle for a very long time. And with that, recruitment also, for the 18 months, 2 years, took a very, very strong or very deep, it was deeply impacted by everything that was going on the world. Now, as human beings, we are pack creatures. We thrive on being together, on having a sense of belonging, on being part of the tribe or a tribe that gets us, that looks out for us. As people, we need each other. We need to feed off the energy to be able to co-create and innovate and to have a sense of belonging. The recruitment landscape, as we stand now, has definitely changed. And as we open up again, it is very evident that remote working is here to stay. And that gives us the world as our source for good talent. I at the moment have clients that are saying to me, Sam, I don't care where the resource sits. Go back, I don't care where this resource sits. This resource can sit anywhere in the world, as long as they can do the role. But here again, we are missing out on that one-on-one interaction. We are missing out on the connectivity. Yes, working remotely is here to stay. Absolutely it is. And as organizations, because of that, we would need to work that much harder to achieve that sense of belonging, to achieve that sense of connectivity or connectedness throughout our teams, no matter where in the world we are sitting. But we need to find and spend more time looking at, there goes my pen, looking at the culture of these individuals and understanding our culture. Because if we're going to be focused and working remotely, a lot of people love the remote working, some people don't. There's a whole 50-50 debate about this, but you need to find, and it becomes more critical to find the right person, that person that is like-minded around working remotely, has the like-minded work ethic, self-motivated, driven to deliver from wherever their desks are. Work is moving towards now, if your bum's not in the seat, you're not doing your work, to output-based. And that's fantastic, because that's where we need to go, and that's where the world is moving. But now, again, we need to then very closely look at how we are finding these people, where are we finding these people, how are we screening, and make sure that we are connecting and onboarding these individuals properly into our organizations. Candidates are enjoying the freedom of choice and the opportunities that are being opened across this globe. Now, with remote working here to stay, looking at our culture, looking at our brand, this all needs to be very, very clearly defined. And we will need to work harder to be drawing people into our cultures, into our brands. And again, retaining these people is going to be critical. The roles need to be, as I said, clearly defined. I mean, I can go on and on about recruitment and how this landscape is changing. But at the end of the day, the principles remain the same. The people element remains the same. It's at the center, and at the center of it is finding the right fit. We can have great strategy and great culture, but if we have the wrong people that are in our teams and expected to deliver on this for our businesses to succeed and grow, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter. So for me to look back at through the ages and through the recruitment and some of the lessons that I've learned, I love that when I go into a new engagement, I learn something from every engagement that I go into. And great advice that I took for one of my very good clients: we don't know everything. And we miss so much when we think we do and walk into a situation with an I know attitude. So don't be that +1, be a 0. Remain open to learn and to truly hear. Listen to what your candidate and your client is saying to you. And that was a game changer for me. I now walk into every engagement a 0. And I walk in saying to myself, what can I learn from this person? And I must admit, sometimes it really is hard when you do meet someone who believes they're a +5, but stand your ground. Every day is a school day, and to learn from people, and whether they're clients or candidates, you'll be amazed. The lessons we learn come from the oddest places. When somebody says, let me be honest with you, guys, honesty is always the best policy. As soon as I hear that, let me be honest with you, Samantha, you know, what does that mean? The spidey senses, you know, start tingling at the back. Have you been lying to me up until now? Okay, be honest always. Don't use that line, let me be honest with you now, because as individuals, as I say, honesty is the best policy. And you don't want to give anybody any reason to create some kind of doubt. So, and I always say that, even to my kids, don't use that line, please. So if you use it, lose it. the other thing that's very important for me, and Justine also mentioned it in her talk about, stand in the shoes of your clients. From my side, there has to be a connect between myself and the client, between myself and the candidate. So I go between client and candidate because both are my clients, whether I am looking for something for an individual or whether I'm looking for an individual for a customer. And as they say, one day a client, one day a candidate, and one day a candidate, one day a client, vice versa. So it's a policy of mine. I cannot recruit and will not recruit for an organization or for line manager if I haven't met with them. I need to be able to sell your organization to an individual who could be the right fit. I need to understand your culture. I need to understand your environment. I need to stand in the client's shoes, so to speak. And if I haven't done that and I haven't met you, how am I on selling your business and your brand? So it's very important for me. And I can honestly say, if I do not connect, I walk away. I cannot then recruit for that environment. And I cannot honestly put somebody into an environment that I am not managing to connect with or in. So that was a very big lesson for me. And I know it's easy to say walk away, but invariably it's not going to work out in the end if there is no connect between myself and the customer. The next one for me, trust your gut. Chasing the placement will go horribly wrong. If I know that this is what the client's looking for and I understand the culture and I meet somebody and I know sometimes, but if look, I think they're probably 90% fit and so forth, I'll trust my gut. If I've got that niggly feeling and my spidey senses, walk away. It's not worth it. 9 times out of 10, that is not going to work in the environment or the culture, and your gut is right. One of my biggest lessons as well, trust your gut. And my last lesson that I have is back yourself. Many a time I've said to my client, just meet this candidate. I know they don't fit your brief exactly. I know you're looking for 100% of this and 80% of that, and this is switched around on this individual. But if you meet them, I know that this person is the right culture fit. I know they're right for the team, and it's paid off. And I often call out my candidates on it, and I'll call out my client on it as well. 9 times out of 10, it's paid off. So don't be afraid to call it when you see it. Back yourself. You know what you're doing is right. You know that you've put everything that you have into it. Can't be wrong. So trust yourself and voice that trust. Yes, there have been some misses that are bound to happen. However, those are overcome with the successes that come from listening to your gut and to sticking to your guns. You know, that sweet spot is the right person in the right seat within the right organization. And this happens when the individual's values align to the culture within that organization. So all in all, in recruitment, times are changing, absolutely, and they need to change, and it's great to change. And I'm welcoming the change, and I think it's great that you are having this or getting this opportunity to work remotely, but please do not refrain from the focus that is required in that face-to-face connectivity, in that personalization that is required, in that connectedness that we as human beings require to be able to deliver what we need to do and to be the best that we can be in that space. So I think for me, understand your clients, understand the business, and remain open to feedback always. Thank you. I don't know, are there any questions and answers, or are we waiting to the end, Nolene?
We do have...
I've got some time, so if there are any that you want me to answer?
Yes, there is. So let me... Sorry, we're on a different group to just specifically for questions.
Okay.
So do you use Enneagram as a recruitment tool?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Do I use?
Enneagram.
I know the Enneagram, and yes, I do. There is an organization that I partner with that will do the Enneagram process for me, should be requested by the clients.
Okay, awesome. Another question. What are the keys to being effective as an employee in remote working?
Understand exactly what it is that your role entails. Understand exactly what your output and what is expected your output is to be, and what is required from you from the outset. Have consistent check-ins with your line managers, and make sure you all get together as a group. You know, you can still get together as small groups, you can still sit down and have your Zoom meetings, but do it together, do it as a group, make them interactive, you know, do some activities when you get together, just to try and keep that fun and connectivity or connectedness growing, so that you also learn. Because, you know, one of the days for those that are working remotely where you could have a quick chat and a catch up next to the coffee machine or the water machine or whatever it might be. So you need to now make those happen yourselves within those groups and over Zoom.
That's a good point. So I know that from our team perspective, we have daily check-ins and make sure that we're just checking each other's eyes to see that everyone's actually okay. We always have a good laugh. That's important. Those, yes, Nicola, those water cooler moments. And we're missing those, you know?
Yes. And you're not learning about each other anymore, because that's what the water cooler moments gave you.
Yeah.
That time to connect and chat and learn about your son or your daughter or whatever happened. Bad day, good day.
Yeah, and so we allow in our meetings as well, just for how are you, and for like just 5 minutes, just talking about how are you, as in I don't want to know about business, I don't want to know about what needs to be done in the to-do list. It's about how are you moments, just checking in. And if that person still isn't okay and you can sense it, then you give them a call afterwards.
Exactly.
Another question. Does how you use social media affect your employment when you're still seeking a job?
Absolutely. So I always say to my, very importantly, especially that we are in the digital age, everybody looks at your LinkedIn, everybody looks at your Facebook, and it sounds like they're stalkers, but they're not. They want to see, who are you? Where do you come from? Does it add up? Does it all align? You don't want to be anywhere unprofessional, guys. And I even tell my kids, my 17-year-old, you do not want to stand somewhere that is unsavory or unpleasant. Even if you just happen to be in the background, that's going to come back. And once it's out there, it's out there. You don't want to be leaning on your BMW with a beer in your hand. You know, it's not professional, and it doesn't look after your personal brand. So short, yes, be very careful what you post. Be very careful about the people around you. You know, I've gone to places where you innocently standing there, but someone's taking a picture and you pop up in the background, unbeknownst to you, quite innocently, but now you're being spurged across someone else's social media. So it is tricky, I know, just be aware of it. And I always say, would you want your mum to see it? And let that be your answer.
Yes, no, there's some really dodgy Instagram accounts, I know.
Exactly. So yes, in short, social media is very, very important and integral to the recruitment process, but as well as to other people and how they view you. That's your personal brand. Look after it, protect it.
Awesome. Then we'll put Samantha's contact details in the chat, because they're also asking, how do we contact you? So we'll put your details in the chat. I will give your email address. What contact details? Email, mobile? No? Yes?
You asked me? Yeah, you can give my email and mobile. I've got nothing to hide. All good.
And stalk her on LinkedIn and social media. She's awesome. So it's fantastic. Thank you very much, Samantha. We really appreciate the time that you've taken out. I think from people that do the recruiting to people that are looking for jobs is really going to kind of relook at how they're positioning themselves for 2022. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nelly. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, so now I have the pleasure of announcing myself as the next speaker. We will be talking about your employees as the biggest fans if you allow them to be. Now, I can go on for days. You know, we had Justine that talked specifically about making sure people development is part of the process, and Samantha that's talking about the people aspect. But yet you're not giving your employees a voice within the organization. Now, with that in mind, are you creating a space for your employees to be your biggest fans? Or are you recruiting those influencers that might show some inappropriate pictures, or that you have no necessarily, brand control over necessarily, but you've got some people that are saying, I have a voice, I have something to say about this wonderful organization. As part of that process, what we need to realize is that people are in the middle of it. And I think people development is something we really need to make sure that we're connecting with. So in a remote world, how are we doing those connects? And that's what Justine and Samantha and everyone that is speaking today is going to be talking about, is really about the people aspect. So did you know 62% of people trust the brand's social media more than its advertising? So you will see something and then you will go and Google the people inside. So what you were now doing probably earlier, Justine was there. So now you started looking at Justine and Justine's team and how do you then become part of the Nandos brand? It's exactly that. They want to know who you are as a person, and they trust what people are saying about the brand rather than what the advertisement is saying. So maybe a bad example, government and corporate, that people will trust what the people are saying and not necessarily what the corporate or whatever that, whatever that umbrella is. Let the people be sharing the content. Let the people be the voice of that. Employees are now the most important stakeholders. So Samantha touched on that. The percentage of pre-pandemic to now is huge. What are you doing to make sure that your employees are the center focus of your business? Because you know how much time and money goes into recruiting the new person, onboarding that new person, taking them through all the processes, getting them up and ready, and then they leave because you're treating them badly. What we need to do is make sure we're treating our people with respect and being that buffer between you and other people and supporting and structuring their team in such a way. Critical roles for employers is my employer is the trusted person. And what you need to know is what the media is saying. So you want to know that your employer is the most trusted institution rather than what the media is saying. You need to be able to leverage that in your own internal employees. Belief-driven employees are more loyal and committed. That's exactly what Samantha was saying. You want to make sure that the person that's coming into your organization believes what you believe within that organization, as in the values. It doesn't help that you get this fantastic salesperson and he's the most obnoxious person or she in the team and actually disrupts the whole team, that the team falls apart, those people leave, and then you're left with one person. And there was a team of 10 when you first started that was actually doing well in sales. You need to make sure that the team will gel with that person. So you have to look at the culture and have to make sure that everybody is brand aligned in terms of that. Belief-driven are also likely to advocate. In other words, oh, we have a position in our organization. It's just like Justine just did. So what she's saying is she believes in her organization and has the same beliefs. Here's some tips. Oh, by the way, if you go to our jobs portal, on LinkedIn, guess what? There's jobs available. Go and take a look. Why? Because she's advocating for business, not because of anything else, but they wanted to make sure they find the right fit for the business. Mind the gap. So there's a lot of organizations that will talk specific, but not necessarily walk it. And people have picked that up, and now to even change that, they're picking up on it even more, and they're starting to talk and walk the values, because otherwise you're actually not going to be, it's more transparent. So what we were talking about earlier is social media, and you can see exactly from a brand's presence if they're actually aligning themselves to the values that you're presenting, right? And are the employees aligned to those values? Make sure that you're aligning yourselves correctly. Trust index. So I went and did some research and decided, okay, so what brands are the most trusted brands? And the improvement, trust index from 2020 to 2021. Acer had the most improved trust index. So I was like, okay, let me go and have a look. Now I went to, yes, you guessed it, social media, LinkedIn. Okay, and we had a look. They have the people page, they have the life of Acer, part of the story, part of the journey. They have the people that work there talking about their story, talking about their history, people talking about their careers, because they have their own voice within Acer to be able to give that information. So this video gives you a little bit more insight. Okay, hold on, I don't think I shared with audio like I did earlier.
Loves to go home where it's like a clean, nice place, your safety area. So if you think of a bigger scope, this is the Earth.
We are really close to the point of no return for climate change. We have to take action. We can't let it happen.
It's important that we be good stewards of the environment. Many of the initiatives that we have in place are in alignment with that philosophy.
I asked myself what I can do to make a difference. I launched a program to develop closed-loop production.
We start to think about the true value of packaging design. Our goal is using the existing packaging to do something else, to give it a second life.
We are offering our customers the possibility of ordering products by train instead of air. This gives them faster shipments with reduced CO2 emission.
Sustainability doesn't need to mean compromise, especially if you think creatively.
It's never too late to update our design thinking and method.
It needs to include sustainable material, repairability, upgradability, and recyclability. One thing we think is also important is visual identity. We can be the leader to create this demand for green solutions.
Because change has to start somewhere.
We know some changes may seem small, but if you repeat them a million times, the change will be significant.
So that specifically was for those of you that understand now, they're actually utilizing their own people from around the world to join in that conversation and do a little piece on a video. Guess what? They're going to share that, and their friends are going to share it, and their family is going to share it. Why? Because they're part of the brand. They've been included as part of the process. Their ideas have even been included as part of the brand's collateral and recyclability. That for me is the most important, is making sure that your employees have a voice. So now you see the screen that says, have you Googled yourself? Now that is exactly where your employer brand and where everything else and social media does get picked up. Your branding, your personal branding, your company branding, everything goes back to Google. So you don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. You don't want You want to make an impact. You want to add value. Make sure that what you are adding into that value portal that people are utilizing every single day, you want to make sure that you're adding great information and great value added content into that. Did you know socially engaged companies are 58% more likely to attract top talent? Yes. So think about it. Half of you are here because you specifically wanted to hear from Nandos. Why? Because they're a socially engaged organization. And everyone wants to work there because they think it's fantastic because they're so on the edge in their marketing and their ideas. But like Justine was saying, is also she spends 90% of the time doing PowerPoint on Google, on MS Teams as well as Excel. So yeah. Did you know content is shared by employees receives twice the amount of engagement than the same content shared by companies? We've done this ourselves. If we post on our personal profiles, we get so much more engagement than we do on a company page. What you need to start allowing and valuing is your employees' engagement, the people stuff. Not, okay, we don't want the Instagram stuff saying, oh, look at the picture of my food. Look who I'm having food with. You know, great opportunity to actually be live in the session. So you would have seen me kind of engaging just to make sure that the video was working and the audio was on. That's because Paul's also sitting in the same room as me to make sure everything is working smoothly. So she's busy grafting in the background, busy posting and collaborating and checking, you know, spam filters and everything else. But other than that, you need to make sure that people are working together because this is so much fun. People need to know about the people aspect and the people profiles do much better. This is Global Headlines. This is Digital Marketing 101 from Hootsuite. There are 7.8 billion people in the world and 4.2 billion of those are on social media. How are you utilizing it to maximize your brand and marketing and sales opportunities? Have you got a plan in place to teach your employees to take your brand to the next level? Not influencers, not your employees. Sorry, I get passionate, so you can see. Daily time spent on media. So you can see here, daily time spent on social media is 2 hours. In South Africa, it's 3.5 hours. Yeah, we spend 10 hours on, it's not on the slide. We spend 10 hours on the internet here in South Africa. The rest of the world is, you know, less. We're on, I think, the top 3. The reasons for utilizing the internet, finding information is number 1. So how are they finding information? How are they researching you? What are they finding when they are looking for information? Primary channels, search engines, social media, customer reviews, all the way down, and money that gets spent on blogs and product brands and blah, blah, and discounts. That's not even searched for as much as search engines and social networks because people are recommending. How many of us go into a local group and say, hi, does anyone know of a good plumber? Everybody keeps doing that because I'd rather get a recommendation from someone who's utilized the plumber than just do a search onto a social, on a search engine. 82% of buyers have viewed at least 5 pieces of your content from the winning vendor. What does that mean? When you are connected in such a world that your procurement department is looking at all the executives and the salespeople and the organization before they approve that this is the next supplier of that specific product. What is that information you are sharing? What is the information that your employees are sharing? And is it of value that it will help them make a decision to say yes to you as a brand? 68% of customers feel more positive about a brand after consuming the content. So imagine this. I'm connected to, let's say Asa. Asa was part of the presentation. I'm connected to 20 of the executives. There's this huge proposal that's going in for employee brand engagement. Put the proposal in, but while I'm putting the proposal, I just connect with all the managers, executives. I don't know who's sitting on the procurement board. All I know is I want them to know my name. I want them to personally know who I am. That way, you have a process of getting your name out there and feel more positive about you and your brand before they even look at the proposal. So when the proposal comes, oh, I know this person. Giving you a practical example. 9-step checklist to building out your employee advocacy program. So set clear goals. Do you want to drive the brand awareness, sales, new hires? What is that? Each team, maybe you want to do all three. And what are those specific teams looking like? What, who is really passionate about the business and talent management? Who's really passionate about sales and getting the product and going in front of the video and saying, how's it? Think about the person behind the brand, the goal that you're trying to. So don't try and get, Mr. IT guy that doesn't even want to be in a photo, let alone on a live video or something, to try and be your brand advocate. He doesn't want to be that. He'll help you elevate and he'll comment and share, but he's not going to be someone in the forefront. Kick off with a strong team. So enlist your most socially active. So that talks to the point about don't employ the IT guy to start being in front of the camera. If he's not, I know a few IT guys that love the camera, but they're very few because they like the computer more. Have a policy. So make sure that there's a policy in place that protects the employee as well as the employer. And that policy is usually driven with human resources alongside with the lawyer, just to make sure that there's a proper checklist going with that. That you would have to check with lawyers to make sure, and HR advocates on that. Teach the how and the why. And this is important because a lot of people, they know Instagram. Okay. But we're a B2B organization. Yes, Instagram will get some engagement, but it's not going to get necessarily the people that you really want. In other words, the executives that is buying a system, for instance, don't have time for Instagram. They're not sitting there. They're sitting on LinkedIn. Have you given them the training and the tools to enable them so that they understand how better to use LinkedIn? Because I think, in the 5 years that I've run my business and before that, I have come across so many people that just, LinkedIn is just too complicated, so I just leave it. Maybe every now and again I click a like button, but that's about it. What we need to do is learn how to use it. What is the power of a system from a social media perspective and the ways to improve it, and teach our employees to do that. Identifying your team, so tap into the core, cross-functional, long-term, that will help curate the content so that it's not just by one person, because if you've only got one person view looking at content, we tend to have this narrow effect. Like a horse and we're just going in the one direction. I am almost 100% sure that from a Nandos perspective, if we were in the Nandos position, some of us would say, not that one, right? Not that advert, right? But they're creating some of their content kind of like, why not? And kind of give you reasons and have that discussion. And then, okay, well, let's do it. You don't know what the reasons could be and what the long-term effect. So make sure that you have a team that's helping curate the content, that it's not just one person, the marketing director that says yes or no, or the sales director. Remind employees to set up daily or weekly emails to push notifications out to help engagement on the platform. So in other words, here's the link we've just posted, please engage. Create incentives. So within LinkedIn, you have a social selling score that you can track and manage. And you can actually do that through the social selling and say, the most improved for this month was, John, and he gets, you know, 200 Rand Woolies voucher. You know how many people will do something for a 200 Rand Woolies voucher? And I'm talking about rands, I'm not talking about dollars for everyone else that's overseas. Track metrics. So for people overseas, it's probably about $5 or $2. It's not a lot. Track your metrics. So make sure that your employee reputation metrics are affected by the content in a positive way. And then optimize regularly. So as a team, what we do is we look at the content and we go, oh, that one's doing really well. Let's create content that has similar kind of look and feel, but says a different message. And let's see what that does. Or let's tap into that specific content idea and expand on it and create more content around that specific idea because that's what people are interested in. It's time that human resources, sales, and marketing teams start working together and not in silos, because this is the way you are going to get brand retention, brand awareness, talent retention, sales, the list goes on. It improves everything if everyone just actually starts working together. So I want to know if there's any questions. Okay, she's going to have the link to the screens. Okay, so the recordings will be available afterwards. We'll be sending out an email for that. I'm just going to go through the questions. I need to look at our team. Is there no questions? Is there anything specific? So, I mean, I kind of go through my content very fast, allowing other people to come in and, you know, but if there's something specific that people have from a question perspective, I'm happy to be here. I love your background. Oh, awesome. Yes, we've been pushing. Awesome, Michael. I think that's it. And the strategy has to come. So this is something that people need to also understand is the strategy has to come from the top down. While I was still in corporate, every second month, I'd be in the CEO's office. And Samantha will know who I'm talking about. I'll be in the CEO's office and I'll go, I think it's time you go onto LinkedIn. No, it's not time. And I'll give him all the information and I'll give him the stats. And no, you need that. I'll be a huge advocate. No, not yet. I'm not ready for that. But now I see that he's so active and he's an advocate and it's come from the top down that it's part of even their KPIs in terms of their social selling score, that it's part of entrenched as in making sure that your KPIs are even linked to your social engagement on LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is the only platform that you can actually manage and see who people are in terms of where they're going, what are they missing out on, because it gives you 4 pillars. I mean, we cover all of that in the training sessions that we offer. So in terms of that, it's definitely there. Okay, big, understand their role, the play, trickle down to the employees. I feel like it's a massive opportunity business and very few people in South Africa are bothered with using it. I know. For me, it's been a bugbear for about 12 years. I've been using LinkedIn for like 12 years, maybe more, for a while. But how I started using LinkedIn was my executives came to me and said, we need a CIO list. And we were in the training and development space. So we had HR and training and all of this, but we did not have a list of CIOs. So I went to Google. I found I have a LinkedIn profile. I was like, so, yes, I had to reset my password like a lot of people. And realized the potential and started gaining some interest in a platform that was giving you the power and giving the person on the other end the power as well. So you've got both because someone else is changing. I moved from this way to this way. So now you've got an active database, right? Would you pay an employee extra for the advocacy role? No. No, it's either you do or you don't want to, and that's okay. I wouldn't pay someone extra. The incentive part, so you put the incentive in place. It's making sure that people are engaging anyway. You put it as part of their KPIs. In other words, if you're not performing, you don't get that bonus. So ultimately, you will get paid if it's part of your KPIs. Let me just check. I think there was a couple extra questions. Is there a certain ratio of employees that should be part of the advocacy program? So there isn't a certain specific ratio, but they say, as in LinkedIn, Hootsuite, HubSpot, all of them. I mean, I try and make sure I'm always looking at what people are saying and who's saying what. That if 10%, only 10% of your organization is socially engaged, your numbers will improve drastically. And the number that I saw was over 400% in terms of your bottom line. But it's over time. So remember that you can't, social media, digital marketing, even a sales process that normally takes 18 months. So remember, if you're doing B2B sales, you're implementing a system, the sales process alone takes 18 months. So what do you think that if you make one post and all of a sudden you're going to go viral? And consistency. You need to be consistent and not expect an overnight success. Okay, I think if our next speaker is available, which is Glenn. Glenn, are you available? Just checking first.
I am. I'm right here.
Awesome. There you go. So then you've got a longer spot.
Fantastic.
So I'm going to,
Okay.
So your internet's still a little bit spotty there. Talk again for us.
Well, hopefully it works. Are we hearing okay?
Yes, I can. Okay, so
all right. Yes.
Glenn and I connected because another one of his clients saw the Branding Bootcamp and said, why don't you present? And that was one of his goals. And so we had a conversation. And I really like that Glenn has worked around the globe and through COVID had challenges in delivering bespoke technology. Bespoke, not technology, but bespoke items around the world and the challenges of shipping and everything else. So I'm going to hand you over to Glenn, who's going to then take you through the rest. Thanks, Glenn.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Nolene. And well, ciao a tutti. I am here in southern Italy right now, and it is great to be back in the world. I'm really thrilled to be here to speak today. I love listening to the earlier speakers because it occurred to me as I was listening that everyone's really presenting the same thing. You know, everyone's talking about the importance of brand as a point of connection, a point of belonging. And I think that, when we get through with our presentation as well, you'll see how this also aligns with what Samantha and Justine and Nolene have just said. So I want to welcome you to Swagology 101. And let me explain first what Swagology is. I'm a swagologist. And swagology is the study and practice of swag as it pertains to the psychology of business. Now, I know that a lot of people think about swag and it's like great free stuff. I love my hoodie and, don't think too much further about it, but that's okay because there are people like me out in the world who are there to help our clients and help the business community understand how to really execute and get value out of swag. Swag is a physical connection in the digital age. It's tactile. And one of the things that we've seen in the last year or so, since everyone's gone virtual, is that when we're doing all of these virtual events, to have a physical connection, quite often something show up in your home and that connects in theme and properly aligns with the content of an event that's gone virtual, it really helps create that connection, you know, because we need to touch, we need to smell, we need to hear, we need to use all of our senses, and that will help support the information that is being presented on scene, on, sorry, on the screen. So first I want to give some primary valuable uses and that you've seen every day for merchandise. The first is for affinity. We see sports merchandise. I'm sure that anyone who has a favorite sports team, they have the jersey or the hat or other merchandise, and it's one of the largest money makers for the professional sports world. Brands such as Coca-Cola and John Deere have elevated swag to another level, to the point where there's a lot of value and collectible value in certainly some of the older merchandise back from the 50s and 60s that these brands have put out. So affinity to a brand is one primary use. Culture, and here's a word that's been used over and over again. So we can use the swag as a physical representation of culture, and that's why it's very important that swag be aligned with your messaging and with your brand. That guitar up top, that Gimme Swag World Tour guitar, was something that we used during an event with Spotify, and it was a contest piece that was given away at the end of a 2-day event. But we were connecting with the world of Spotify and wanted to make sure that we were in alignment with them. The piece on the bottom left, which I absolutely love, this was a candle that was used for Earth Day. And the idea being is the candle, the packaging represents a condominium. And as that candle is being removed, the condominium goes dark. And then of course the candle gets used when the lights go out on Earth Day. So there are, you know, a lot of creativity and a lot of creative elements that go into this. And when you do that, you can see how you can get some tremendous impact and alignment with these things. I'll keep on going the wrong direction. You know, Justine made a point of saying that, you know, awards and recognition aren't really something that she strives for. And, you know, it's probably true to a certain extent on a conscious level, but we also heard the pride in her voice. And at a subconscious level, being awarded and recognized for something that you pour your heart into is tremendously valuable. You see here the Academy Awards, and they're probably the most well-known award piece out there. So incentivizing, whether it be through recognition and awards, or in creating a reason to take an action. I'm trying to drive someone towards an action. And you'll see up there, there's a 1/64th scale model of a rider truck that was used by riders, an account-based marketing or a direct marketing tool. They were able to get their account team 30% of the people that received, it was a highly targeted list of executives that received that truck as part of a larger direct marketing piece, set up appointments, and they had somewhere to the neighborhood of about an 8% signing after that. So 2.5% signing, and we're talking about some very, very large contracts. I can tell you that bottom left piece, you see that cute little guy, his name's Pete, and he was a little stress reliever. So on the top, we saw something that might cost a fair bit. On the bottom, Pete was a very expensive piece that went out to a lot of people and basically said, hey, I'm Pete, I'm on. And it was something that created a greater than 33% success rate, success being people accepting a meeting with one of our account representatives. So you can see that, again, when done properly, we can drive actions Okay, event merchandise. The concert T-shirt is as well known as anything else in the world. To the right, there's something from a corporate event as a goodie box. But what happens is that you go to an event, you have that event, whether it's a night at a concert for your favorite band, or whether you go to a corporate event, and then the event is over. But the merchandise remains, and it provides memories for years and years and years to come. You know, there was a great little story that I have about recently. My wife and I were in the house, and we saw something way out behind the house, and I said, hey, why don't you grab those binoculars that Tim gave you and see if you can figure out what that is. And those binoculars were a gift that were given to my wife. Her name's Patty, and she's my partner in everything, including this business. I said, why don't you go and grab Tim's binoculars? Tim gave her those binoculars over 15 years ago. So the power of a touchstone, of a memory, of something that happened 15 years ago because it connected with those binoculars. Exclusivity, the ability to, you know, we all want to belong, and when we have things that we're particularly proud of, like, you know, we earned, or, you know, we just love the brand story of Glossier. It's, you know, become a cult brand of, you know, and we use those skincare products. We want to show the world that we're in that group, that we, you know, belong in a certain way. And so, you know, again, that is a tremendous use of that. So those are some of the key uses there. You know, I talk about a lot of those things have to do with culture. And I did want to touch on, you know, a lot of what Samantha was saying about the importance of employees feeling like they belong and that they're aligned with something. So employer branding, which is becoming a huge part of what we do. And we've seen the spend in employer branding go up many-fold over the last few years. And as a matter of fact, just the term employer branding and the position of head of employer branding or VP employer branding, those positions did not exist a few years ago. So it just goes to show you how important these things are. And, you know, whether that's the new hire kit or some other piece of merchandise that connects you to the brand, these are things that an awful lot of money, over $25 billion in the US annually, is spent on. And then I'm not sure what the global spend is, but the numbers would go along with that. So let's talk a little bit about strategy. I think you can see from what I was just talking about that, you know, there's, you know, if you've ever been to a trade show or an event and people have just been, you know, shoving things out there into your hand, that's really not a strategy. That's, you know, and that's unfortunately some of the things people think about swag. They go, oh yeah, here, have a pen, have a pen. We don't do that, right? What we have to do, and my note sheets got mixed up here. There we go. Okay, well, that's note sheets missing. Basically, the concept of strategy behind swag is the same as strategy with anything else you do in your business or in your life. You know, you identify a problem, you identify what the desired outcomes are, you create a budget, you create a plan, you execute on that plan, and then you measure. You calculate your return on investment, you tweak, and you rinse and repeat. And that is like any other marketing strategy. There's a lot of value to be extracted. So if we follow the basics that we all know about marketing and how to execute in business, make sure that we have plans, then we're going to be successful in whatever we do. Nolene wanted this to be all about what's different today and looking back and looking ahead as 2022. I'll tell you, she mentioned one of the challenges that we had to deal with in the last year and a half is complete change when you're going from not a digital world, but a physical world, where instead of shipping perhaps 1,000 items to one place, we're now shipping one item to 1,000 places. So there's a lot more logistics, the challenges of distributed audiences. People are now working from home. We have virtual events. We're starting to have hybrid events, and I think it'll be a long time until, if ever, that we return to a world where everything is focused in person. There will likely be a balance between work from the office, work from home, in-person events, and participating, at least in some track in an event, through virtual means. So this distributed audience will continue to create some logistical challenges. And what we're going to see and continue to see as far as challenges is scarcity in inventories. We've all heard about the global shipping crisis. It is a real thing. It is extremely difficult and become much more expensive to move things around. There are labor shortages, as you know, a lot of the perhaps lower, I don't want to say lower value, but lower paid jobs in things like manufacturing or in warehouse and fulfillment. It's difficult for people to find people, so the capacity is continuing to get squeezed. What we're seeing out of that is a lot of longer lead times and higher costs. And the only thing that we could really say about that is that planning is more important today than it has ever been, because there's going to be a real bottom line dollar cost if you don't do it. It's no longer possible. You know, 2 years ago, if you called me and said, Glenn, we've got an event, what's today, Thursday? We've got an event on Tuesday. Can you figure out some way to get something happen? We'd say, yes, we could do that. We had an incredible amount of capacity to produce stuff in 24, 48 hours. That capacity is completely gone. The habits have to change. And because we're shipping out to individuals, and because shipping costs are going up so much, the opportunity or the need to use slower shipping methods like the mail systems, the postal systems, rather than UPS and FedEx and DHL for everything, are also creating extended lead times. So the word is plan, plan, plan. Allow 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to execute programs, and you'll be in a far better situation, and you'll have a lot healthier budget. You don't want your money going towards logistics. There's no tangible value to recipients in logistics. There's tangible value in the items that they get to receive. Okay. Other things that we would love to talk about in 2022, because this is finally where we're going in the world, is social responsibility, sustainability. Sustainability is incredibly topical today. Finally, we're all realizing what the heck is going on out there. And we've had to, you know, there's been a little bit perhaps of a backlash on merchandise. People say, well, you know, why are we producing all of this stuff? And, you know, again, depending on the strategy, it's either stuff or very effective marketing products. But we have ways of doing things in a more sustainable way. have some very large clients. They have global presence, especially we've seen in the past out of the USA where companies would just send everything from the US. It's expensive. It creates a large carbon footprint, and there's also importing and border costs. So try to do things locally. Try to do things within your own country, within your own city. If you have offices all over the world, look for a partner that has offices locally where you're doing business and that can execute locally for you. Focus on, as I mentioned earlier, we're in a digital world, and digital marketing is fantastic, especially at the top of the funnel. We can attract a lot of people, but business is still built on relationships, and swag comes in more often at a place much further down the funnel. And so what we always say is, be a sniper. Don't pull out the shotgun. Spend more per target. Think about the 80-20 rule, right? Where 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your respondents. And focus on better targeting and doing things that are going to drive your response rates higher. Focus on demand. Make people respond. Don't just throw things at them. Make sure they're engaged and down the pathway before you start using promotional materials and swag with them, because you're going to end up being, again, able to spend more on better qualified and have a better closing rate, response rate based on those people. And then the products themselves. One of the things, and our focus is in the last year, has been to increase our partnerships with social impact enterprises and vendors. And one of the areas we focused on is upcycled and recycled materials. So as you see that bag in the picture there, that's made completely of upcycled inner tubes from tires. That was designed by Kenneth Cole and produced by one of our social impact partners in Haiti. You want to use non-disposable products, and if possible, products that are replacing disposable bottles, disposable products. There was a, get back here, that bottle there, that bottle is produced by one of our partners, Ocean Bottle. And so not only are they replacing single-use plastic bottles in the marketplace with these bottles, but they're actually investing from the revenue from these products, money back into another partner called Plastic Bank, who creates sustainable work for people in places like the Philippines, in Central America, to remove plastics from riverbeds and nearshore plastics, and then recycle those plastics. So not only are we using something instead of plastic, the proceeds of that purchase is going to remove for each Ocean bottle, it's 25 pounds, 11 point something kilos of plastic from the ocean. My apologies. And then finally, as we talk about social responsibility, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And make sure that, again, in tying into employer, whether it's employer branding or whether it's customer-focused branding, that we're recognizing the shift in who our clients are, what they identify with, what they are not just identifying with, because I think those things have always been out there, but in such a way that we're not speaking about them and putting them out there and saying that this is who we are. We're looking for companies who are going to support us in the way that we are, in who we are, in the challenges that we've encouraged in the past. And again, a big way that you can focus on that is by looking for those social impact enterprises. As I mentioned, we partnered with well over 30 of them in the past year who are in places such as Haiti, Guatemala, India, Malaysia, Rwanda, and what these organizations are doing is that they are training and hiring and giving employment opportunities to people who are coming out of marginalized communities and situations so that they can make fair wages, so that they can get out of marginalization into mainstream communities and build lives for themselves and their families. So that is a very, very important way that, and all of this is able to be achieved with some swag. So in review, you know, I'd like to say, leverage the emotional impact of your swag, make sure to strategize to get the maximum effectiveness, plan, be prepared, embrace social responsibility, and most of all, have fun. I mean, it's swag. This is the best job in the world that I have. I get to deal with people in an area of their job that is often just the best part of their day. So enjoy it. It's great. Have fun. And that is my presentation today. I hope you found it interesting and learned something. And welcome any questions.
Awesome. I think your internet has gone all wonky on us, Glenn. Yes, it's kind of going all robot again. So we people have asked if they can get, you know, if you can give them a better version at some point. So maybe record yourself and upload it and let us know when it's there, and then we'll tag and share.
Absolutely.
There you go. So there's an option.
I do apologize for that. I'll have a word with the Italian telecommunication industry and see if they can't approve things then.
Yes, no, I did say to them that you are busy traveling, so you've got hotel Wi-Fi, so you're kind of sharing with a whole bunch of people at this point. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. We haven't got any specific questions. I think people are just commenting about the challenges within your industry, the supply chain challenges. You know, it's limited and clean deliveries, you know, the clean, that it's not infected or whatever. I think that's been the big challenge, but we'll get that then into the Q&A and have more detail on that. So thank you so much for taking the time to present, and we'll connect again at the Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Now I have the privilege of welcoming Miss Baddie herself. Yes, I said it. Lavelle Hall-Smith. She's all the way, she's hailing us from Chicago. I've had a privilege of working with Lavelle for only almost a year, we're not even a year, but just fantastic connection, getting to know Lavelle and her business and the value add that she adds to her community really speaks about her and her learnings of being a mom. She is the founder of MomLogics and has this many other things happening at the same time. I can't show my toes. I was showing toes as well. But she's a phenomenal woman. I'm going to hand over directly through to her to kind of take you through to our last presenter and then through to our Q&A. So welcome, Lavelle.
Oh, thank you so much, Nolene. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen now. As I get ready, hopefully everybody has a chance to see what I see. All right.
See what you see? There you go. Building successful brands. There you go.
Excellent, 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 excellent. So good day, everyone. I hope you are doing amazing so far. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you again, Nolene, for such a warm and welcoming introduction. So today I'm going to talk about building successful brands through the lens of emotional intelligence. And I'll start with a personal story. I am from New York City, where you can shop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Yes, I live in Chicago, but I am a New Yorker through and through. And no matter what you want to buy in New York, no matter what time of the day you want to buy it, you can get it in New York City. I remember the first time I went shopping without my mother. I went shoe shopping with two of my very, very best friends, Billy and Cookie. Such cool names. My nickname was Val, not as cool as Billy and Cookie. But it was back to school time and I was starting high school for the very first time. And I begged my mother to go shopping with my friends. Mom, please let me go. And against her better judgment, she said yes, maybe because I was going to high school. I was geeked, I was so excited, and I had a chance to prove to my mother, this was my opportunity to buy quality shoes. You see, that was her thing. High quality shoes that fit well, lasted long, and were leather. For years, I was stuck with black or brown shoes that smelled like leather for months because Mommy did not believe in cute shoes that hurt your feet. From the time I was 5 and in kindergarten, I heard, never buy shoes too small for your feet, Lavelle. You'll end up with blisters and bunions and feet that hurt. I could never get cute shoes that were in style. We weren't rich, so places we could afford to shop had very few selections. Either high quality black or brown shoes or cute, cheap, colorful shoes. So shopping with Mommy did not allow me to show up at school like my best friends with cute, cheap, and colorful shoes. But this time, I wasn't going with Mommy, so I could buy my own shoes. Well, guess what? The logical Mommy wasn't with me, but what was with me was the emotion behind finding cute, cheap, and colorful shoes. I heard logic in my head. I heard buy high quality, and I even saw a few black and brown shoes. But my emotions took over when I saw the cutest tan, fake leather shoes. I was ecstatic and I was so happy. I got my shoes. And the bonus was my two very best friends, Billy and Cookie, they found a pair in their size too. We can now be triplets in the shoe category, except the cutest shoes ever didn't exactly come in my size. They were half a size too small. So I did what any emotionally irrational person would do. I ignored logic and purchased with emotion. So despite the possible dangers of the blisters and bunions and two messed up feet that Mommy talked about, I purchased my very first pair of cute, cheap, and colorful shoes. And within 1 week, I got the biggest, the fattest, the ugliest blister ever on the back of my right foot. I was out of school for 3 weeks, true story. And to this day, I still have the blister the size of $50 on my right foot, which proves this lesson. Never, ever buy cheap, cute, colorful shoes that are too small for your feet. But more importantly, remember this powerful point. People don't buy for logical reasons, they buy for emotional ones. While working at Leo Burnett Advertising Agency here in Chicago, we didn't just focus on creating great brands. Yes, great advertising was important to the agency, but getting customers to stop what they were doing, to watch, listen, and learn about all of the amazing ways our products could fix it, cure it, or solve it, that was the task. Finding the right emotion that would ignite our customers enough for them to pause and take notice and take action to buy the product, that was the ultimate goal. You see, branding is more than just a logo, a website, or a business card. It really is an experience. And as business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders in the branding and marketing space, it is your job to find the right emotion behind every product and service that you sell. So, for example, Hallmark, one of the brands I worked on at Leo Burnett, we didn't just sell greeting cards. we sold love, sex, and relationships. Or Nike. No, they don't just sell sneakers. They sell a just do it attitude. And of course, the swoosh sound. And McDonald's worldwide. We don't just go there for burgers and fries. No, we go for trust, conveniency, consistency, and mom goodness. So when I first got assigned Disney while I was at Leo Burnett, that was one of my favorite all-time brands to work on. I was like a kid in the candy store, but all I could remember was Mickey Mouse and those ears. So Disney, they don't just sell rides in an amusement park, they sell magic. Now here's what the numbers say when it comes to powerful branding. 90% of buying decisions are made subconsciously. And while most text is written at a third grade reading level, humans process visuals 60,000 times faster than text. Wow. And 50% of our branding experience is based on our emotions. So what exactly is an emotion? And what types of emotions do humans respond to? Well, an emotion is a feeling, a physiological response that influences our thoughts and our behaviors, like a giggle or a lump in your throat, or your heart racing and your knees shaking. An emotion will cause your mind and your body to do something. And while humans may be smart and intelligent, well, most of us, we still mostly respond to just 4 basic emotions: anger, fear, happiness, and sadness. So what is this emotional branding all about? And what is the intelligence behind building successful brands? Oftentimes, brands attempt to use the shock value to promote their product. Yes, it gets everyone's attention, but sometimes it causes alarm and can be quite unsettling for customers. But when done right, like in this ad for WWF, the thought of us all changing into fish if we don't take care of the planet is actually scary. And it's also impactful. Here, fear works. Emotional branding uses emotional intelligence when selling products or services. Brands who are aware of their customer. They've researched the emotion they want to trigger. And they're informed about situations and scenarios that will move the customer. Brands that are responsive to customer reactions. So let's talk a little bit about Aristotle, the Greek god. He's the one who actually created the foundation of persuasive marketing techniques. Aristotle coined the terms ethos, pathos, and logos. And there are 3 powerful tools used in emotional branding. So I'll cover a few. Ethos, it's all about the credibility and authority, like the doctor or expert in athletics, or the social media influencer who endorses a product or service. Ethos in branding can take many forms: quoting experts in a field, using testimonials from customers, and even case studies from universities. When we appeal to a person's ethos, we're building trust and credibility within our industry and establishing our brand as an authority in the space. And then there's pathos. It's all about the emotion and imagination. Pathos will motivate our customers to take action by creating a sense of urgency. Some of us may be familiar with the fear of missing out, FOMO. However, we should not make the customer feel like their emotions are being manipulated. We have to be really careful in this area. And lastly, there's logos. It's all about logic and reason. This is Aristotle's most persuasive pillar, and it's very dependent upon the other 2. Pointing out facts and statistics, that's what logos is all about. But sometimes logic isn't enough to make a customer take action. We actually need the connection between our customers' emotions and their logic. Now, you don't have to have all 3 appeals in your branding, but if you are able to balance them all, you will have one emotionally powerful brand. So here's a few brands that tapped into Aristotle's emotional branding and used emotional intelligence in selling. So I have a few that we can explore. Nike. It tapped into our ethos using credibility of an athlete and the social injustices of the world. And then there's Always by Procter & Gamble. It tapped into our pathos using the imagination and emotions to make women feel empowered and confident by turning the tables on the term like a girl. And then Bounty, they wanted to sell paper towels. So they tapped into our logos of logic and reason using percentages to sell a better paper towel product. The emotional intelligence used in successful brands will pull the emotional trigger and make your customers respond. Brands with emotions are more profitable. Customers are more willing to share their experiences with others, and by far, they are more impactful. So as we explore your brand, and as you take a closer look, here are some of the highlights I don't want you to forget when it comes to emotional branding. That emotional brands have to do with the emotional intelligence and what's behind your product or service that you're selling. That humans and their emotional responses are what's going to drive customers to you. That Aristotle has 3 amazing branding appeals: ethos, pathos, and logos. And that brands will pull at the emotional trigger. And finally, here are some do's and don'ts when it comes to the world we're in. A few of them are, don't ignore the power of emotions. Emotions make us human, so use them to connect with your customer. Don't use rational content. Yeah, it makes sense, but it can be quite boring. So use words that make you feel. Do create a connection between your brand and the customer. Find that emotional trigger like Hallmark commercials for the holidays or Coca-Cola with the polar bears. And when telling a story, find one thing about your brand, your product or service that makes a human connection, like how you got started, how the business may have flopped the first time around, or tell a story about what or who is the reason behind you starting the business or selling the product or service in the first place. Lastly, make sure you know the emotion you want to trigger. Know your target, the purpose behind the brand, and the brand personality. Now, that's a different presentation. Brand personality, so important. But knowing the personality of your brand will help you know the emotion you want your customer to connect with. Branding is not what something says or what it means, but it's how it makes us feel. So do me a favor now. Take a look at this quick video. I want you to feel what it's saying. Feel how it moves the people and the crowd. And then think about the brands that have emotionally moved you. Those will be some of the same emotions you want to use in building your very successful brand.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm. She keeps me warm.
My heart doesn't see race.
Love has no age limit.
That's my best friend.
We are neighbors and best friends.
We all have different religions, but we have universal love as well.
I love my sister.
So I hope you enjoy tapping into the emotional intelligence of branding. My name is Lavelle Smith Hall. I'd love to connect again with you on LinkedIn, Facebook, or via email. And as you move into 2022 and what's next, remember this: people will forget what you said and even what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that applies not only to people, but to our products and services. Thank you so much.
Well done, Lavelle. That was such a powerful clip for us to all realize within the space and the life that we're living right now. Connectivity and, that living in a world of no judgment. I think that's ultimately where we should be from an emotional perspective, because I know that often you get those trolls on socials, right?
Yeah.
we actually have a retirement village that has asked us, how do we turn off comments? Because we don't want people to even just complain about the food the whole time on social media.
Yes.
But I think what you're bringing through is that importance that we become as a whole person. So well done. I think this, you kind of just put the icing on today's cake. We really appreciate that. Haley.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So if all the panelists want to make an appearance and come back and say hello, is everybody there? They can put their audio and videos on. I know that one of the questions came through asking about, is it something that we should be changing our socials or updating it, or just delete that social media and restart again? And I think it's an important and valid question, and that I mean, from Lavelle, from a whole marketing background, what do you think?
Well, I think it depends on, what position you're in. So, and I enjoyed everybody else. So I would love to be able to say, you, Nolene, I've learned so much from you working with you. And I think it's a matter of being intentional.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think, so you can edit your own profile and just edit it so that it talks to exactly who you want to become. One of the questions that when we're sitting down with clients is when we say to them, what does that goal look like? And I know, one of the goals we're ticking, international webinar, is already ticking on Lavelle's little tick box there. But eventually it's a on stage in South Africa, when the world allows it.
Yes.
So a TED Talk, and your goals are simple, but something to attain, and putting it out there and making sure that you have clear goals. I know that everybody has said, make sure that you're putting that strategy into place. Make sure that you're looking forward to 2022, but be intentional, like you say, about whatever you do.
And can I just add this, Nolene? And I know I see a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in Super Bowl goals. It's scary. It makes, it's the emotion, right? It's the fear. It's some of it, the anxiety. But I believe you got to put it out there. And I do believe that as you move, as it plays in your subconscious, right? Because we know a lot of what we do is always in the back subconsciously, that you're moving toward that thing that you've put out. And for me, it's always the Super Bowl goal. So I am putting it out there to the universe that I will be on the stage for my very first TED Talk. I'm excited about it. I can't wait. I already have a title. So absolutely. But I cannot wait to have that experience. So just go.
Amazing. Just go for it. And I know talking about, you know, Super Bowl goals, and Samantha and I were in the same organization, and was that hairy, audacious goals, right, Sam?
Yeah, correct. They need to be so big they frighten yourself.
The big, hairy, audacious goals. Val, there was a question: how do you celebrate success of your brand without feeling guilty?
So I believe, and I'm going to wrap up the second question in it as well, which is about like, how do you become one with your brand, right? And so it's important to have the human element of your brand. And when you make it human, and when you give it, when you create or find out or figure out the personality, that's part of living. Celebration and what we do, the wins and the joys, that's all a part of who we are. So when you organically and naturally bring the celebration to the brand, it doesn't feel like you're selling anything or you're cheeky with it. It really is part of the personality of the brand. So as long as you're transparent and you're organic about it, I mean, for me, at one point I was my brand. So I showed up as I really am. And that sells, and it connects with people so much greater than trying to be businesslike or trying to be strategic. Just be the brand personality that you want people to connect to.
Absolutely. Samantha, do you have something to add?
No, I completely agree with Lavelle. You know, authenticity draws people in. To be open, transparent, authentic in what you're putting out there. And I think when people can feel that authenticity and can feel the, you know, the realism behind what you're saying and who you are, I think that's a big connect.
Yeah.
It's those moments of always being honest instead of let's be honest, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I was Glenn, do you have anything to say with regarding your brand and your personal branding related back to, you know, emotional? Now that you're back.
Yeah, and I think it's the same message that I've heard throughout, and that we were saying. It is all about making emotional connections. We don't buy with the logic, and it is something that that's what really branding is about. To me, it always has been. I think that alignment, that authenticity is, and we know so well, we're built with bullshit detectors, for lack of a better term, built in, and you can tell when someone is authentic and someone is just putting it out there. And quite frankly, I'm always amazed that people can't tell that of themselves. It's like, you know, that, you know, they can't look in the mirror and say, wow, look how opportunistic I really come across, because you can definitely sense that. And I just want to say, Lavelle, I completely enjoyed your presentation. My super audacious goal is to someday be able to present even half as well as you do, because you put it out there with such wonderful energy. And yes, authenticity, and it really is was a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. There's another question. How do you use social media and that affects your employment when you're still seeking for a job? And I think that one's for Samantha.
So how you use social media affect that one?
Yeah.
It absolutely does affect everything that you do, specifically when you're looking for work. As I said earlier in the presentation, you know, people, organizations, we live in a digital world. They're going to go immediately and look at your LinkedIn profile. They're going to see where you're at on Facebook. They're going to connect with you. So everything that you start posting and you start putting out there, organizations are going to be seeing. If not them themselves, it could be somebody else who's affiliated to that organization who you've tagged or shared. And so it moves on and up the ladder and down the ladder and spreads. It's like this never-ending web, the social media. So you always need to be very cautious, very careful what you're putting out there, and make sure it's saying what you wanted to say about who you are and what you are representing. When you're looking for work, you are your brand. So again, as Lavelle said, it needs to be with intent, and it needs to have the right message and let people see what they the right thing and feel the right way about what you're putting out there. So it's very important. It's critical.
Absolutely. I want to give an example that, here in South Africa, we get blackouts. They call it load shedding, but it's essentially blackouts every now and again when the government is fighting with our power utilities. And so then they have this never-ending battle. So someone was actually complaining on Twitter, because that's the only place that you actually get a response when you're not doing complaints, right? Even with LinkedIn and everything else, it's the only place we get response. And someone from a TEDx in Pretoria started swearing like a banshee at this utilities. And I actually responded, and but the problem is that she had as part of her Twitter profile that she was one of the executives at TEDx Pretoria. And I was like, wow, that's not a TEDx I'm going to be going to anytime soon. And I responded to her and I said, well, that's a nice, great brand representation. Well done. That's all I said. But that's that gives you some effect how now I perceive that brand, let alone that person.
It's also very, people say, a lot of companies, they say, all medical aids or insurances, are you a smoker? No, I'm not a smoker. And you fill in all those forms, I'm not a smoker. And the next thing you know, there on Facebook you are with your cigarette and an ad. People see these things. They come back to bite you. So yeah, who you are.
Yes. Lavelle, I see you wanted to say something.
No, I agree. You have to be mindful when you are building a brand and when you are your brand, which is what was asked. There's a time where it shifts, where you are the brand and then you can expand out as you scale. But initially, when you're starting out, you're the face. I'm the face of MomLogics. And so even though I have other team members, I'm still the face. So what I do to represent the brand is crucial. But that authenticity is going to keep you grounded and it's going to allow you to win every time. So when you try to be something for the public that you're really not, when you try to put on, I remember when we would dress up our talent when we were doing commercials, and they did not really connect with the image or the personality that we wanted them to be. Well, that's where you're going to have some of the problems, right? Because there is a disconnect. And as Glenn said, there's bullshit in some of what people do. So you have to be, when you're a small business or you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, you have to be mindful and going in and figuring out your emotional branding and that brand personality that I talked about. That's key, because that's going to help you stay authentic, be transparent, and have organic content that comes from your brand and what you're selling and what you're sharing.
And if you're authentic, you can be consistent. If you're not, that consistency is not going to be the same, and you're going to be putting out all these different messages wherever you go.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's funny. I tell people as I'm getting older, I realize I never tell a lie because every time you tell a lie, you have to remember what you lied about. So if you're just honest with people and tell the truth, then you never have to struggle to remember what it is that you should be saying in a certain circumstance. It's always going to come from a place of truth.
And as you get older, you don't remember so well either, right?
I'm sorry?
I feel it's important to remember the human element. We all have bad days, and many times we always associate our behavior with our brand. We are allowed to have those down and off days. And I think that's important as well. I think we don't talk about it on socials, that it's okay to be not okay. Brene Brown has a whole process, and I know that Lavelle and her team have got even online courses on that they're busy with in the background that even talk to that. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, I was just going to share. I agree. I think that we don't ever, and I know at least for me and the work that I've done in advertising, I always came from what was the truth. I believe that that's how we are going to connect. If I come to you and I say, it's okay not to be okay, and then I share my reason for why I'm not okay in the moment, it makes it easier for you to do the same. So yes, all of that, when we talk about authenticity, it's about the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly. I am known to share my truth. I am known, when I was taking my son to college, he is a senior at Cornell in university here in the States. And taking him to college, he was just like, I mean, I'll say it. He wasn't just nice. He was an asshole. He's a smart kid. I loved him. But that freshman year, I know everything, Mom. I got it. You don't know anything. I'm like, guy, I'm a New Yorker. I know a lot. But and I love my son. So Alec, if you're watching, Mommy loves you. But at the time, he was not so nice. And I did a Facebook Live, and there were so many moms who connected. Yes, my kid, they acted the same way. I don't know what happens when they're going off to college. They think they know everything. We can laugh about it now. I love, love, love my son. I post about my children being chief mom of MomLogics quite often, but I tell everything. Not everything, but I tell most things that I know moms will connect with and that will resonate, so that they know me as the founder and chief is really being authentic in this Black motherhood that I'm walking in every day.
Absolutely. And I think important also, as whether you're looking for work and you're not okay, but you mustn't be looking at, I mean, because of the question, one of the questions was if you were looking for work and looking to be recruited, you need to put your best foot forward on socials, because someone's not going to necessarily, so brand authenticity, yes, but if you're looking for a job, you need to make sure that the best you comes to the forefront, especially during that time, that you're putting yourself and you're not going, I'm desperate, I'm crying, I want no bread. That's not going to work and get you the job, because there's a lot of those people. What is it that you have that nobody else has that's going to get you that position? And that's how you position yourself. It's about putting your best foot forward, putting out a little video and saying, this is what I've got that no one else has got. But obviously, when you're feeling okay about yourself, to put that self out.
And so nobody knows what's going around in the background. The only opinion they have is what they're seeing that's coming through on the social media.
Yes. I mean, you guys don't even know half the day that we've had in the background. We've had people and spammers and hackers coming onto the platform and onto our networks and into the LinkedIn event feed, and they were spamming spam links that I don't know if people clicked on it, and I'm praying that they didn't. And if you're watching this recording, I'm really sorry. We tried to see them as quick as possible and delete them and remove them, but as soon as we did one, another one would post. And so, you know, but you guys didn't know that. You didn't know the hecticness that was happening literally 5 minutes before the event started. So, but it's that, and saying that happens, but kind of going through that and telling.
I was going to add, Nolene, just this point, and I having built brands and been in the space of advertising, it's a fine line between what you share and when you share it. So oftentimes it's, aspirational advertising always wins. An aspirational brand, things that people want to aspire to, is important. So I always balance, what do I share now? And what do I share once I'm over the hurdle, right? So we're successfully, right, on the other end of all the things that you went through. And,
yes, we are.
And that's what you share, right? You don't take people through, depending on what it is, if you're looking for a job, if you're building a brand, but then you go to let me tell you, that's part of your story. Yeah. And now you get, you do the journal, the hero's journey rather, and you want to share what the transformation was like. And that's when it becomes aspirational. That's when people look at you and say, okay, you did what you needed to do. And even in looking for a job, it's the same thing. You don't want to go in the interview talking about all the things that you're doing in the moment that may not be so good and pretty, but you can talk about the experience that transformed you and how you got to the other side.
Absolutely. There's a comment in the chat.
That's an excellent point.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the comments is, how COVID has actually changed our emotions, and to even make a little bit more of an effort to understand one another because we're dealing with each other virtually. Lavelle and I have never met in person, but we connect like a house on fire and speak for 3 hours and we didn't even realize it. But, and Glenn and I have connected over the last few weeks, and Samantha and I have known each other from a personal perspective. And you never know someone truly until you probably, what's that meme? If you want to really get to know someone, give them bad Wi-Fi. Glenn is still smiling, so I'm sure he's a good guy.
I have to say something about that. I spent a lot of time, I have 2 grandchildren in Los Angeles, and, we'll spend a couple of months at a time out there and what have you. And, I'll be on a Zoom call and one of my grandchildren will run in and, they're up there on my knee and take a couple of minutes and what have you. And other people have children or a baby screaming in the background. And I absolutely love it. I think that, my picture when I'm off screen and it's an 8-year-old picture and I'm in the suit and tie and looking all serious, there's a level of professionalism you want to keep up. But at the end of the day, what's professional is your actions, is not necessarily your dress and or the picture you have to paint 24/7, 365. And I think that exposing our own humanity, showing ourselves as more than just business people, but as family people, as has really helped with those connections. I think that people feel a lot, just that relationship builds almost quicker, just because the humanity is brought into it so much more than it ever was before COVID.
I think so too, yes. So I'm just letting Miranda know the recording will be available. So once it's finished downloading, it is a 3-hour recording. So once it's finished downloading and re-uploading onto our channels, we'll put it onto our socials. But yes, I think being human and allowing each other, one of the things that we've also learned is allowing each other not to be okay and saying, you know what, you need to actually just turn off, go take a walk for a couple of hours, come back, especially because we have blackouts here in South Africa. You get so frustrated and you want to kill things because the internet is not working. So yes, just find me when I'm not got the internet, then you'll find out how I really am. But in terms of not being okay, we just say, okay, you can't do anything about it. It's like, I think it's that AA saying that if you can't change something, and just pray about it and just kind of leave it where it's at, because you can't physically change anything or do anything about it. So walk away and let somebody else handle what the issue is. So when the power comes back on, you've got your internet.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions or comments or closing? Thanks for advertising. I really loved listening. Awesome. Well done, Brenda. Thank you for your feedback. Anybody else? Penny says it's okay not to be okay. Yes, it's okay. Brene Brown has fantastic TED Talks on that, on courage, and it's okay to be okay. So go do yourself a favor. It's like 20 minutes. It's awesome stuff. And look, I'll be coming out with online courses.
Yes.
Connect with Lavelle and find out.
Connect with me, LinkedIn, Facebook. I left it. I'm sure Nolene will add it to whatever you share from this amazing experience. I've had a wonderful time. I thank everybody for joining and of course the wonderful speakers. It's been great to be on this stage with Glenn and Samantha. Maybe one day I will be with you in person when I'm doing my TED Talk, my Super Bowl goal that I'm putting out there.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll be watching that.
Yeah. I can't wait for Val to come, and her and her team have been promising it's next year, so I'm waiting.
Oh yeah, the whole team of MomLogics. We are coming. We are coming. Yes, I cannot wait.
Hi, Miss Vicky, we're coming.
Yes, we're coming. Yes.
Awesome. So we'll see you guys soon, because 2022 is 2 months away.
Yeah, 44 days or something like that for Christmas.
No, we have to buy Christmas presents.
No, you can have
Just
a
give
COVID reason.
I'll just give a piece of
And
my
you
mind.
have more
Is that okay?
time. It's 65 days, Nolene, so you've got a little bit more time, or 66 days. But you don't have more time because there's this tremendous crappy supply chain thing happening. So go buy now.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. The recording will be available on our socials probably tomorrow or Monday. So keep an eye out. Thank you to all the speakers. We really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting it together and having us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.